The landscape of the Spokane housing market could change forever. Hayden Halstead with the Halstead Home Team, your favorite Spokane realtor. After a couple intense years in the housing market here in Spokane, major changes have begun to take effect in order to combat the continuously challenging housing market, both in the rental and the retail space. We've seen headline after headline concerning rising home prices, rising rental rates, and now in the last couple months, rising interest rates have started to compound as well. As of the beginning of the pandemic, home prices have increased 57% and rental rates have increased nearly 50% as well. The Spokane Association of Realtors recently stated that they believe Spokane is 25,000 units short in order to have a more stable market where rental vacancy would sit between 5 to 10% instead of 1 to 2%, and home inventory would be around 2 to 3 months instead of 15 days. Spokane Mayor Nadine Woodward declared a housing emergency back in July of 2021 to begin taking steps towards combating the major lack of supply we were and still are experiencing. But we started to see progress in November of 2021 when the city approved 2 zoning changes for a couple of private landowners in the city off of East Cleveland and near West Cento and West Maxwell in order for those landowners to build some larger multifamily properties. Fast forward to July of 2022 and the Spokane City Council has unanimously approved a 1-year zoning change that will allow for small multifamily properties to be built on any single family lot. Let's go through a few concerns and then the opportunities that this allows for. First off, many people are worried that an apartment building is just going to show up next door to their home, and that's not completely the case. This initiative focuses on middle housing, which is for 2 to 4 unit or townhomes, and at this time, there's no restriction on the number of attached townhomes that can be put on one parcel, but building requirements would limit the amount of townhomes that could go on one. A townhome is required to be at least 16 feet across with parking in the rear and then 80 feet in depth. And the majority of parcels in the city of Spokane are 50 feet wide with a depth of anywhere from 100 to 140 feet. We'll create a graphic over here, but I know when I first read this that I imagined on a standard parcel you would just see a line of townhomes sideways, or in other words, if all the homes on the street were facing this direction, then the townhomes might face that direction. But that's just not the case because we wouldn't be able to get that 80-foot depth requirement on a 50-foot parcel. This means that the only option for townhomes is to have them face the same direction as the rest of the houses on the street with the minimum requirement of 16 feet. This would only allow for 3 to be put on a 50-foot parcel, and that's not even including any required setbacks that there might still be that the city hasn't talked about in the new zoning code. So with all that said, yes, there might be anywhere from 2 to 4 units being built next to you, but it won't be just some massive complex. Another concern that has been voiced so far is that even with it being limited to a maximum of 4 units per parcel, people are still concerned over parking and noise from more people entering into their neighborhood. I think this feeds into the limiting belief that all multifamily units are bad and create issues for our neighborhood. It's a mindset that we've grown accustomed to here in Spokane, where we must separate multifamily housing from single family housing, even though this city was built on combining those two. Spencer Gardner, Spokane's new planning director, recently spoke on this topic at a recent community assembly. He showed a similar time in history when Spokane had a massive spike in population growth between 1900 and 1910. 70,000 people came to Spokane during that time, which tripled the overall population. In the last 10 years, between 2011 and 2021, Spokane has seen a population growth of about 55,000 people when we had a base of 400,000, just so for perspective on how massive of growth that was in that time period. During that time period, we created neighborhoods like Browns Addition, Cliff Cannon, Perry District, and the Logan neighborhood. And all those neighborhoods are examples of common places where you will see a variety of housing types, and that was done on purpose. Back then, we believed that people of all income levels should be able to pick which neighborhood they would like to be and grow into that neighborhood. It was a natural path to wealth to start in Browns Addition, renting a small studio apartment, and then you'd purchase a duplex in the same neighborhood, rent out one side to help pay your mortgage, so house hacking was even cool 100 years ago, and then you could buy a single family home and build your way up to one of the big, beautiful homes as your finances improved and you built wealth over time. In the 1910s, local and federal officials started to use zoning laws to basically discriminate against people that were low income or minority by creating neighborhoods that were only meant for the wealthy. They weren't allowed to discriminate directly against any one group by federal law, but they found a workaround by creating places where only wealthy people could be able to afford to live. Thus came the massive growth of single-family zoning in Spokane, where now over 2/3 of the land in Spokane is zoned as single-family. We've come a long way from that time, and in order for Spokane to continue to grow as a city, we need to look back and realize that this isn't the first time in history that we've had to make accommodations like this. Even most recently, places like Kendall Yards have been a proof of concept that townhomes are a very viable option for many people here in Spokane and have shown a high level of pride of ownership in that neighborhood. There are sections of the Perry District that have seen the same thing, and a major Spokane builder, Greenstone, is planning similar communities in Mead and Liberty Lake. With all this info, I think the biggest takeaway right now is to slow down. There are people that are incredibly excited about this opportunity, but please don't rush in and start submitting offers on any piece of land in the city. They've stated that fourplexes are allowed on every parcel, but the city council and the mayor have mentioned in previous discussions that there may be more regulations and restrictions on where 4-unit buildings can go, and limiting them to only within a quarter or maybe even half a mile of major corridors. Also, if you don't have the funds to completely pull all your permits prior to the year end, then the rules could change and you won't be grandfathered in, so you have to be prepared to move quickly. For those of you that are nervous about your neighborhood getting congested, just take a look outside your front door. Do you see any vacant houses or houses that are ready to fall over? Depending on where you live in Spokane, the answer may be yes or no, but for many more affluent neighborhoods, this will not be a concern at all because there are way more homeowners in your area than investors. It's highly unlikely that your neighbor is going to sell their house to a developer in your expensive and upscale neighborhood. Most of these projects will take place in areas of town that have many more rental properties to begin with, or abandoned homes or vacant lots. The last thing I want to say on this is that I think many of us can agree that just by driving around, the lack of affordable, low-income housing, i.e. apartment buildings, are on their way to a better place. There are massive apartment complexes being built all over the city right now, and in a year's time, there will be a ton of inventory in that market. Additionally, new construction homes are breaking ground every single day, but we don't see any selling below $400,000, if not more. And our biggest struggle right now from a realtor's perspective is that talks to first-time homebuyers all the time is the lack of affordable homes to purchase. I do hope that many of the building opportunities that take place this year will be in that attached home or townhome arena with middle-of-the-road finishes for buyers in the $250,000 to $350,000 price range to have opportunities to purchase. Right now, the median household income for a millennial or someone between the ages of 25 and 44 is $52,600 a year. The average cost to rent a 2-bedroom house or duplex in the last 3 months is $1,869, which makes up 42% of their take-home pay. They could also purchase a 2-bedroom home that was built over 100 years ago for about $275,000. And with the average down payment being 6% for first-time home buyers and interest rates being about 6.5%, their payment would be about $2,100 a month. This demographic of Spokane is currently being impacted the most because they don't qualify for housing assistance and government programs like people that make little to no money at all. Creating 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom townhomes that are nothing fancy but would allow for more inventory in this price bracket and hopefully help these first-time buyers get into something that they own, and just like the population of the early 1900s, could start building wealth and work their way up to actually buying a single-family home in the future. Again, this zoning change is only for a year while the city works to create a more permanent solution, but I think there's a lot of opportunity for people of all walks of life to have an opportunity to own some real estate in some capacity or begin investing and building some major wealth for their families. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts on this change. Check out some of my other videos in Spokane here or here, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so to stay up to date on all things Spokane. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.